I'm gonna try out this video thing, and I don't know if I'm gonna call this a mini podcast or whatever a video cast or whatever. Here we are. I'm gonna cover a little bit of this cut and paste, and when I get a book, especially a hardcore book, this is what happens. These are Totoro post-its, but I if I want to cover something in a zine, I definitely put a lot of notes into it. Cut and Paste, the American Hardcore Fanzine. Thank you for grabbing a copy of Cut and Paste. This comes from my brother Patrick, Tribal Publishing, and this is an ode to the old school in the truest form. And in that, this actually focuses on the American hardcore fanzines. I mean, there's plenty of very notable things, and in fact, I mean, whether it's Dave Mandel from Indecision, Josh Trustkill from Trustkill, I mean, everybody in hardcore at a certain time, whether it's past or even now, should, if they don't know, they should know the importance of fanzines from the very outset of this entire culture. And Patrick Kitzel, he's another future guest. He is really involved in these awesome books and publishing cool shit. And he said, here's a copy of the latest and greatest from Buske and I, my man Buske, Jonathan. And so he said, it'd be awesome if you could give a shout out online. So we're going to do a little bit more for the fellas than just do a shout out. I wanted to kind of give you like an overview. Again, right off the bat. Boom. This is not cheap shit. Okay? Some great quotes. Justin Dimitrik, photographer, Intermission Fanzine. Absolutely, if you've never seen her work, check that out. I got one from Paul Bearer, Mike Hartsfeld, New Age Records. BJ Pop is another amazing photographer, and obviously the king of all, Chris Wren, Bridge 9, who later we're going to discuss what he did in an anthology. It was an amazing display of modern ingenuity, but keeping it raw with the XXX fanzine. So, a little bit into this for people who are like, what the fuck is a fanzine? Type, slow it down. We're just, what's that, apostrophe? Zine is mostly what you're going to see. But for a long time, let's just say this with the DIY periodicals, whether it was the reviews of the demos, reviews of the records, reviews of shows, or just writing. I mean, the culture of punk rock and hardcore and even heavy metal in those underground days can all be documented into the fanzines. And even later on, you get into the 90s with the publishing, the desktop stuff getting easier, and we'll talk more into that with some of the zines that pop up in the book. But I feel like the modern digital interface has completely erased a lot of the culture of the fanzine, especially in hardcore punk rock. You don't really hear people say, "Hey, get on. Can I interview you for a fanzine?" They'll say, "Hey, can you come on my podcast?" I'm guilty of that. I'm also guilty of trying several different times to not only interview and get bands for a zine, but actually put out multi copies of a zine. But I tried. For a teenager into my early 20s, I tried. I just could never follow through. So God bless everybody in this book who followed through. You see the little ring light extra from here. I just saw it for the first time. But again, you know, before hardcore punk was in these bullshit websites like the Lamb Goats and all that, there was our culture, and everybody had their own say, and they would print their own little, you know, the review, whether the band sucked or the band great. And I mean, it really kind of really spurned so much stuff. In fact, I could do 10,000 little stories just on different zines and like the dramas and all this stuff. But the culture really did get promulgated and pushed, independently published. I mean, it's incredible what zines did to promote the smallest bands at the smallest levels, bands who had one demo, bands who had one song on a side of a 7-inch that was a split. It's incredible what the actual scene did to promote and celebrate or even denigrate or attack the part of the scene that was going on. And the biggest and best, you always, just like anything else, everybody wants the new record by the big band or the hot new band. Same thing. Everybody wanted the new zine as it came out. And for me, that was a big deal because it was like, and for so many people who have never had to read a fucking newspaper, it's like, oh man, the new issue's out. I got to see what's going on. And then so many different people within the Philly hardcore scene who I was coming into were not only obsessed with zines, but they wrote reviews for zines or they wrote their own zine. So it was like super important, especially in the early to mid 90s. So it just became part of our zeitgeist around here. And a lot of that's going on, unfortunately. And it is a pain in the ass. I mean, imagine now, even with the computers and stuff like that, it's probably still easier to pop up a podcast episode than to do even a 20-page zine. But zines are still badass. And this cut and paste is the document that kind of does a decent overview. Not so much a full anthology, but an overview. And if you're younger, you're going to want to peruse this, take some notes, check some things out. And as you can see with my notes, we got plenty of them. So we're going to rip and roll into this one, okay? I should also say that one of the things, if I was going to say one of the things that kicked off was you can see some of this fucking awesome black and white. It's fucking fantastic. Hardcore is not, and punk is not in a great place when everything's digitized and everybody's on Apple iPads and the days of cool ass hand drawn or copy shop looking cut and paste, and it's gone away. The aesthetic of the true, this is the oldest core. Look at this shit. Like, this is pure unadulterated DIY hardcore, and you don't see that. You don't see it in today. You see glossy ad mats and bullshit like that. So here we go. Here's it's a lot of great pictures too. Like, these are home taken pictures, just all throughout from different zines, and this is like be the behind the scenes of the zine, so to speak. Yeah, and there's so much to it, and I hope you guys check it out. So primarily this book is an A to Z, and by A to Z I mean it's alphabetized, but you're going to get a couple nuanced big pages for the really important, or those they felt needed more showcasing than every zine. So to kind of start it off, you just got here's the ones to start off from the numbers. Just 3 zines, but hey, if you're going to do it alphabetized, the number's got to come first. And right to our first note, and that is because we're going to talk about, let's not fuck this up, we're going to talk about Action Packed Fanzine. For those of you who have not listened to the episode, I have my notes here. Please go to episode 33. We can hear my friend Darren Walters, jiu-jitsu expert, soccer expert, founder of Jade Tree and Action Packed. And my brother Hardcore was involved in this, and the Philadelphia area's greatest real estate and former record manager, Tim Owen, are responsible for Action Packed, first actual record label, and also a zine. So this is kind of like what I was saying is, you didn't just have a record label, and sometimes a record label became after the zine. Sometimes the label was first and then they made a zine after the fact. But whether it's Smorgasbord or Schism and all these different zines, they were all, a lot of the big ones were tied in with a record label, whether first or secondary. And Action Pack, if you can find them, grab them. Shout out to the boys. If we're talking about super serious, amazing fanzines, again, here's another little quick note here. I had Norm Brannon, currently playing in Thursday, member of Texas is a Reason, also playing in Shelter, the Anti-Manor Fanzine, which had one of the greatest compilation anthologies of all time, and actually was truncated. They took excerpts and put it into a book that was printed by Revelation, and now Norm does his Anti-Manor Substack. You can always subscribe to that. But Anti-Manor was honestly one of the most fantastic, well thought out and thought-provoking, and also provocating, antagonizing fanzines of the 90s. And it was so, it looked fucking fantastic. And some of the bands that were really changing in the course of the culture were all in there. This one you can see Orange 9mm, formerly Burned, Jawbox, Into Another, Mike Judge. All this stuff you could read as a kid. And this is the kind of stuff that I was exposed to, which is why I'm still fucking here in hardcore, because of this exposure. So, yeah. And I mean, again, we're going to start talking about shit we need back. Look at this cool ass art. This fucking shit's awesome. Love it. So then we get into the ABCs. I'm not going to do this the whole time. This is just kind of to get us kickstarted. So you have a bunch of zines that are A, you know. And as you spin along, you go from the A's to the B's to whatever. And again, cool ass little art from time to time. That's what we need, really. I mean, and then to some degree, like, yeah, there was comic zines or punk parts with it. I mean, that's fucking absolutely dot matrix printed. Awesome fucking skeleton art. Bad as shit. Bad Brains, New Order, Husker Du, BGK from Europe, Jello, Biafra. I mean, just sick. Great coverage of cool shit. And yeah, obviously the Boiling Point. If you don't know Boiling Point, I can't help you. But more just amazing shit covered. And this is how they kind of like do write-ups. If you're if your zine's as important as Antimatter or Boiling Point, you get a little bit of a write-up. Or, you know, in this case, Tim Singer wrote a little bit in there for the book. A bunch of different pages. And again, like, as a kid, it was just great. You know, like, where you guys are doom scrolling to go through stuff, we'd be sitting at our friends' houses, pass around the Maximum Rock and Roll, pass around this tea, and everyone, oh, did you see what he said? Did you see that review? And you know what's also missing from hardcore is the fact that you could be a kid in Kentucky or a kid in Arkansas, listen to some 7-inch or a demo and be like, yo, this fucking band sucks. And one day that guy may go in and see that, who the fuck said I fucking suck? Nowadays, because everything's on the internet and you can see who writes what, there's no more criticism. There's no one saying things that are good sucks. I kind of miss it. Even if it's wrong, I miss some motherfucker having the right to be like, I don't like this, and 40 people not being able to immediately write to them. So that's, I do miss that out. Here's another one, Bullshit Monthly. This is like, Mike Bullshit put this thing out, and one of the things that is going to be reoccurring in this little overview is that Shining Life Press, who we've spoken on for the podcast for the sake of the fanzines that are now full book anthologies like this, are courtesy of Shining Life Press. And without them, you'd be trying to find all this I almost said episodes because we're in the podcast mode, but all the issues of Bullshit Monthly, but you don't have to, because Shining Light Press pulled it all together. And that's the cool thing about now. You want to go ahead and get yourself a nice anthology, this is where you would go. Fucking absolutely cool. I love that. It's the one cool thing about the monitoring of having a big book collection. I actually would hope Antimatter would do that. It'd be fucking fantastic. I only laugh and say that they even had the, oops, you see right there, we got the Back to Basics #1, Rick's fanzine. That shit was handwritten and looked like something out of the movie Seven. But even Back to Basics is covered in this. Here we go. I mean, not only is this art just fucking fantastic, but Chain Zine with Patrick West. I mean, dude, Connecticut, New York, Patrick. From 1992 to 2002, the guy just put out zines. And I mean, I think he did like 14 issues or something like that. But, I just ripped the page. Fuck, that sucks. But it was a good note. Chain Zine, I think they might have had 14 or 15 issues. At one point towards the end, he was printing 3,000 editions per zine. So like issue 12 would have 3,000. 3,000 people may have it. It's fucking fantastic. And 3,000 in the hardcore scene then is a lot more traffic than, say, 3,000 likes. And Patrick West still comes to hardcore shows. Fucking amazing impact for hardcore. Great fucking guy. And if you ever get your chance to get your hands on a Chain Zine, I think you should do it. It's one of my favorite ones that popped up as I was getting to the point of all this. Obviously, a more local one that only through other older friends' collections I would go ahead is Common Sense. Tim McMahon, Mouthpiece. Later on, he would do Double Cross, which is a blog spot, which is kind of like the digital fanzine version towards the end of the early 2000s. You can actually still find a lot of the stuff he had on that blog spot. But Common Sense was a fanzine, which total youth crew, because Tim is the embodiment of fucking youth crew. But cool shit all around. Check it out if you guys get a chance. Here's some more cool ass just art, some graffiti letters. We love that shit all the time. And again, like, I'll get into it after the wrap up. I'll get into it more. But I mean, the problem with hardcore is just everything is aesthetically getting more boring, more kind of an amalgamation into like, you can't even tell what it is. It's just boring. So this shit, I mean, look at this motherfucker, DC Skinhead, DC Scene Zine. What? Give me fucking 100 of them flyers, man. There's fucking Jesus Christ right here. That's what we're talking about. Dear Jesus, issues 36. I never read the zine, but I want to now, just because it's fucking dope, you know? They got a Life's Blood episode. And here's the thing that's kind of lost in the social fabric of our time in hardcore, is everybody's doing the tweeting and God, if you're still talking on Facebook, I'm sorry for you. But the politics were out in the front in hardcore. It's pretty fucking simple. You got the Clockwork Orange, and you got all these bad guys out here doing the business to the old punker instead of the old drunk in the Clockwork Orange scene. And zines and punk rock really ascribe to the notion of either taking the piss out of someone or, you know, fucking with Ronald Reagan and the Pope and this Jerry Falwell and all these motherfuckers. The 80s was littered with shit on the Reagan, and now modern era not so much. You know, the political commentary's gone, the art's gone, the fuck you's gone, and I miss it. I miss a lot of that. Truly, I do. Here's an excellent version of what happens when chug moshes started happening. Pants got bigger. Sports sneakers came in. Boots came out. But obviously epic pile-on pictures saved the day time and time again. Like I said, this is not meant to be like a fucking hour-long podcast like I would normally do. This is more just kind of like show you, like, look at this. Fast break photo zine. I mean, this is just the shit. And then you have this other guy right here screaming. I don't know. I get like serotonin boost just looking at this shit. And here we are. So if you were into thrasher, maybe, but Flipside was one of these holy fucks for me. Like, you could go into any record store on South Street, you can find old issues, you can find new issues, and the resources for the budding punk rocker and young teenager in me really appreciates the level of quality that Flipside put in their mag for so long. And it was actually became like a magazine, but its birthplace was the zines, and I'm glad they do a whole thing actually on it, and check it out if that's where you have to buy the book. But I mean, look at these fucking covers. This shit's fucking sick. You know, hardcore punk and much more. They actually talk about skating and surfing and all this California shit that I ain't got nothing to do with. But it was still badass and a real precursor to a lot of stuff that would come later, and a great way to like check out things as a kid, especially someone sitting on South Street being bored half the time. Big shout out again. This is Guillotine Fanzine. Wendy was around from the very outset of New York hardcore, and Guillotine Fanzines covered so much cool shit. I mean, I don't actually remember how many total fanzines, but I can recall like from up to like almost the mid to late 90s, Wendy was still doing it again. I think one of the last shows they did, well, like not last show for CBGB's, one of the last big things they did for Guillotine was some Guillotine fanzine show, like to like celebrate them. And a lot of people, and actually I still have the flyer somewhere in my collection, but I didn't go. Chris X went. It's like a bajillion bands, but shout out to Wendy for what she did for Guillotine and New York hardcore. And there's a lot of bands we probably never heard of that if you ever get your hands on, you to check out. And actually that's for every zine. Be surprised how many times you can check out a zine and you're like, I never fucking heard of these motherfuckers. It kind of makes you feel stupid sometimes when you shit on something. Yeah, here we go we get into some more badass art. Now I got my notes off. I know I don't edit this shit. We're just doing this like this. Dude, look at this. Look at this. It's a twofer here. You got this fucking bad motherfucker here. You got this motherfucker here who's got some real problems. Bring this shit back. You know, I want this fucking TSOL dude wrapped up with these tentacles. That's what I want. Hardcore, Volume 1. Free zine. With this art, Jesus, you guys are lucky. You were lucky then, weren't they? And again, you want to talk about some cool ass, someone should steal this idea from the hate zine? Look at those dudes in hoodies. I fucking love this shit. This is the shit to me that's pure, unadulterated fucking hardcore. Is this shit. More than anything. And it's lost. It's in these books, these anthologies now, that on the internet, everybody wants this polished bullshit. So, we'll continue. I'm actually one of the projects, like we talk about fucking notes, the hardware fanzine, Brett Beach and Dave Koenig, big part of not just New York but New Jersey hardcore. Their hardware fanzine is actually already out as a full anthology, and I'm doing this to my hardware fanzine anthology to get ready for a very extensive interview with Brett for the hardware fanzine. But truly one of the best fanzines of the 1990s. And for me coming in and not knowing everything, it was great to see, a couple of the guys older than us had I keep saying fucking episodes, but it's issues. I keep saying I keep fucking up, but they had issues, and it kind of like got you to school, and what's the new demo, and what's this guy think, and it was very immersive. You know, it was like a they weren't textbook thick like these things are, but it was immersive and kind of gave you like an idea of what the band sounds like. Where today you have a kid, he can't describe shit. I don't know. It's like they put in words what they felt the band sound like and kind of give you like a direction. Like, oh, maybe I like it. Maybe I'll check it out. And again, one of the coolest thing about hardware was always the artwork. And like, you look at that bad motherfucker. Like, look at him. And then the guys behind him. They should be in the fucking Louvre. I'll make the hardcore Louvre. How about that? I make the fucking hardcore Louvre. Obviously, Indecision fanzine, California, Dave Mandel. Most people will know of what he did because Indecision would eventually be the California record label that would put out so much also. In fact, they had that fest 2 summers ago. And, you know, you had the Throwdown stuff. You have all these bands that come out. But it all started with Dave Mandel and his fanzine, which then became the record label. And he did so much for the local area that 20 years later, there was a 2-day festival in Southern California. Motherfucking loving some beach and loving some sun and put on some awesome shit at a great time for hardcore resurrection, Outspoken, Four Walls Final. Like, these are, if you can find these, get them. I'm not sure. I don't want to talk out of school, but hopefully this becomes an anthology one day as well. And if it hadn't, I'm sorry for not knowing. But I just remember, not only just when we started traveling and getting to know more of the guys out there, the impact of what Dave Mandel and Indecision was as a fanzine, and then later, obviously, as a label. It's an interesting thing when someone starts doing something and it turns into something completely wholly different, you know? So we can continue on. Go to my notes here, skip around. Just for one of my favorite New York hardcore zines of all time, Chris Wen and the... I said Win. I should have said Win. I almost said Ren, but I caught myself. Chris was on episode... What episode was he in? He was on episode 44 there. Thank you. I had notes. So check out this hardcore episode 44 if you want to check out the In Effect fanzine. Guy started stuff in the 80s and came back even stronger in the 90s. He still has the fanzine up on the website. Absolutely fucking fantastic. Pure New York hardcore. And one of the few zines that's, like, I think completely focused on New York hardcore but got so far other places. Absolutely cool shit. And shout out to Chris for still doing this. Yeah, like, this is one of the coolest things. It's obviously from It's a Live fanzine from Fred Hammer. Look at that. You got a straight edge skinhead art. Can't fucking beat that. Yeah, like, again, I digress to say that, like, because so much of this stuff is more ancient history than not, it's hard. You can't just Google this shit. Or you can Google some of it, but you're not going to be able to get the context of all this stuff as easily as you think. But I want you kind of just, like, for the younger people, check this shit out, man. Like, this is what helped push hardcore in between. Now, obviously, you have the internet, you have fucking social medias, and you have all this other shit. So, like, reading a fanzine doesn't seem as cool. But it's, to me, like, without fanzines, I don't know how far hardcore may have gotten. And, you know, even, and what's crazy is it's maybe a hand-in-hand thing, but punk rock, hardcore, whatever, underground music scene, having fanzines, when the music magazines and the culture started picking up and being bigger, zine culture was promulgated by punk rock zines and all this other stuff. There's still an underground zine culture where people are just talking about their fucking day. which is all part of this shit as well. But I find it very interesting that as hardcore zines died, zines didn't die. And Philly even has like a Philly zine fest. God willing, I never have to go see it because I don't want to know what mundanities that people are making zines out of. But it's important to say that zine culture thrived well after hardcore punk abandoned it, which is a shame. Let's go to my next note here. Yeah. So again, we talk about future guests. I shouldn't even fuck with these notes right now, but I have to. It's the way my brain works. Here we are. Future guest, Freddie Alva. New Breed Comp, New Breed Zine. New York hardcore fucking legend. Always involved in cool shit. Always involved in new releases and book stuff. I can't wait to have him on the podcast. And if you don't know New Breed and you don't know Freddie Alva, I don't know what to tell you. A purveyor and a supporter and a lifer in hardcore and a lifer in, pushing the art beyond just the band style stuff. So here we go. This is Philly Zine. Popped up, and what's really interesting is Jesse Luscious and Sean Castilla, who was part of the Cabbage Collective, were the main two people involved in this Philly Zine. And lesser known to the more modern hardcore people is that without the Cabbage Collective being a part of Philadelphia, they're the ones who found the first Unitarian Church. Without the first Unitarian Church, who knows where Philadelphia would be as far as DIY hardcore spots, because of the Cabbage Collective, R5 Productions through Sean Agnew would eventually come into the church space, and then later on us would come into the space, me and Bob and everything that we're doing now. So this is forefather shit, Philly Zine, and I'll be talking, hopefully have some more of this kind of older Philly stuff to go off of on the real podcast. But for now, shout out to them for doing what they did and giving us what we have now. It's important to say that. I'm gonna skip through because I don't want to make the video too long. When you talk about as zines start going from like, it's a little zine to a magazine, I was a kid when Rum Shaker really started getting even cooler and cooler. And so big shout out to Eric Weiss. I mean, towards the end of Rum Shaker, the shit was just polished as fuck, and the interviews were great, and Eric's New York dude, but always gave hardcore a lot of love, and one of my favorite zines of that time, to be honest with you. Now this shit, if I could do this again, I'm not even gonna hold you. Oh, I ripped it. Look at this motherfucker's Meat Men. Look at that thing. Hard. Right there. That's hardcore. That's hardcore. And this is spring 1982 straight edge on there. Just fucking badass legit shit. I love it. I love just seeing old pictures and things like that. It goes to say, as the internet came, a lot of things were still going on, and one of the guys I think who's been there probably from some of the earliest parts of hardcore to even currently, I guess he still goes to basement shows, is Al Quint. Suburban Voice, Boston hardcore. He was there before everybody started, and he'll probably be there long after you guys are all gone. But shout out to Al Quint for never giving up on the shit that he founded as a kid. I think it's fucking awesome. And I'm glad to see that he got his love and people still put on for him for how long he supported hardcore and punk rock and how many basement shows and small things. I mean, incredible longevity of someone who didn't get tired and just, move away. Here we go. This fucking troublemaker. Trustkill. Josh Trustkill. And again, here's another one. You want to go back? Go back to episode 157. What do we do, like 4.5 hours? Do something nuts with just Josh Trustkill. And again, zine first, fantastic. 3 decades worth of record label later. Go to the podcast episode 157. You want to hear the story, but again, more of that record label that came out of as a fanzine first kind of deal. And then if you want to talk about, this is the deal. I gotta do this before the Shining Life Press. It's probably way over 10 years ago. The Touch and Go fanzine was pulled together, and actually I was booking Meatmen and Who the fuck else? Oh, I don't even remember who the fuck the other band was. But when we had him coming through, I called him. I said, "Do you still have the Touch and Go thick books?" I think he said something like, "Make sure you have $30 cash when I get there, but I'll bring you one." He shows up to the venue, and sure as shit, boom. Do you have that $30? I'm like, he just gets out of the van, and I'm like, "Yeah, Tesco, here's your cash." And it was almost like a weird drug deal with the dude. But if you wanna go back, if you're like, I don't know how to go back and read all this shit, Touch and Go was around in so many different ways, in the sense of scene reviews, record reviews, and it's just like a snapshot from the earliest points in the Midwest hardcore scene. And obviously with the Meatmen and everything going on, and the label Touch and Go, which is one of the most important record labels in the history of punk rock and hardcore, it's in this Touch and Go, and you can get it. And thank you to Tesco V and the Meatmen for fucking just being awesome. And instead of just being like, I don't know where that zine went, putting it all into one thick fucking book. And I suggest everybody who doesn't know, go get that fucking thing. Another one of these, and actually this is another alumni of the This Is Hardcore podcast. With the thing is, we're going to do a second episode, as have it yet. XXX Fanzine, another thing straight out of Boston. Mike Gitter, who is a big player in this world still to this day. Dude's involved with record labels. He's involved in going to every single fucking show that comes through California, even though he's still in his heart an East Coast dude. And what's interesting about what they did, and I say they because with Chris Wren's acumen, skills, and abilities for layout, he took the XXX Fanzine anthology and he made it a true work of art. And actually, it was one of the ones that when it came through, when I bought it, I mean, it came with stickers and pens and all this cool shit. It was just so awesome to see something that came out in the mid 80s look so fresh and everything popped. And it's probably one of my favorite of these anthologies I keep talking about, just because of the quality, and it all came from Chris Wren. So get your ass some XXX Fanzine from Chris. It's fucking fantastic. And Mike Gitter, there's so much he does in hardcore today. All you younger people, some of your favorite bands are on record labels or tours or something, because that motherfucker went to the bar and seen them and was like, yo, these guys are great. Ultimately, for the most part, that's kind of where we're at. You know, I could go on and show you what was my next, I have a little note. Oh, where's the art? Oh, it's the art is stuck. Oh no, I already did the art. Yeah, my art notes are all stuck. Anyway, for the most part, this does a really good job of, especially if you're a younger person and you're like, I don't even really know what's up with zines. This is the kind of great way to get wise. Get wise. Check this out. Go look around, check out, see if you can find some of these old zines, especially some of the ones of note. And again, I'll say the word of this podcast or this video, whatever you want to call it, is anthology. These things are the records of the records, so to speak. With this, you're kind of now able to find yourself looking through and going, oh, what's up with this zine? What's up? I mean, just on this, there's probably about 50 fanzines just right on this cover right here. I know the ring light's making it hard, but you know, there's so much out there, so much documented and not discussed, and so much in our culture that's preserved, but it's up to you. It's going to be up to you if you want to go ahead and you want to check this shit out. You know, I could sit here and I can, you know, praise and lament and say this stuff's so cool and it's so important, but it's going to be up to you if you're never fucked with fanzines. For me, it was the lifeblood of the scene for a long time. The internet is really the flat version of it. I know it sounds bizarre to say that because obviously in the modern time, how quick information flows, but so much of it is ass, and so much of it's not even important that we're kind of ignoring so much cool shit. And so I wanted to do my friends a very good review. I'm going to try to do more stuff like this at a shorter level, but cut and paste the American Hardcore Fanzine, Unter Wet, Tribal Punishment, or Tribal Publishing. Check it out. Thank you to Kitzel. Thank you to Buske. And yeah, I'm going to try to do some more of these videos, and I'm going to try to get some more podcasts out. We were having an issue where Spotify had to rectify what information they were getting from SoundCloud, which is the people that I use to put all my podcasts out. So now that that's done, we popping these things back out, and eventually we're going to go to a more video format, as I've been saying. But as you say, I get up in the morning and pour concrete, and I don't sit at home thinking about the ways to digitize all the videos and make it happen. So you got to be kind with me for a little bit. Thank you, and I hope that you guys check out some zines. And hit me up if you go, hey, what about this or what about that? I can kind of answer some questions on the Joe Hardcore Instagram, and obviously This is Hardcore Fest on Instagram. And thank you.